Hey y'all, don't be frightened that you can only hear my voice, but everything else is dark around me. I purposely made it dark to enhance the mood of this video. So, as you all probably know, the Russian invasion of Ukraine is well underway. This is obviously the first invasion on European soil since World War II, but it's also the first, I guess you can say, war in Europe since the Balkan conflict in the former Yugoslavia in the early to mid 1990s. Now, while there are obviously a crap ton of sanctions going towards Vladimir Putin himself, along with his oligarch gay lovers, it's also quite disturbing that you have the Russian people themselves suffering even more than Putin and the higher ups. SWIFT is the SWIFT program to receive international funds from Russia and the outside world is null and void, and their economy is collapsing, if not near collapse. Their currency, the ruble, has plummeted in value, and ATMs are basically out of cash. So it's a real mess over in Russia, and I really don't agree with throwing sanction after sanction after sanction on this particular country, because the average Russian person had nothing to do with this invasion. Nothing. That had nothing to do with it. The Sergeys and the Olegs and the Dmitris, I'm just naming Russian names here, they had nothing to do with Putin's invasion. They're just people like you and me. No babushka didn't do anything wrong here. They're just people like you and me. They live their lives, they go to work, they take care of the kids, do what they have to do, run errands, have fun on the weekends. They're just like you and me, So it really is just disturbing how this whole crisis has been handled. And also you have US companies and even companies based in I think the UK and Europe as well, who are basically boycotting Russia. And they're saying, oh, we're not going to sell our products in this country because of what's going on, because of the hands of Putin and what he's doing in Ukraine. But again, I don't agree with that either, because because, as I said before, you're targeting the Russian people, and that is not okay, because they had nothing to do with this invasion. In fact, there was a store, or not a store, it was a Russian restaurant in DC that was ransacked, essentially. It was vandalized. And again, this is the same thing when people are targeting innocent people of Asian descent because of COVID. It's no different. It's xenophobia, just towards Russians. And I do not stand for that. And neither should you. So, I guess if this video had any theme, it's that it's still very early on in this whole crisis happening in Ukraine, with people fleeing to Poland. And there's really no telling how much worse it can get. I mean, we're talking about some cities being seized. Kharkiv is being such hard hit right now, that particular city. Kiev is probably going to be captured within a week or some shit, but maybe not because there are some logistical failures that the Russian military have been dealing with, which is good, but also another one thing that people are mentioning is the COVID situation in Ukraine. Obviously, it's no coincidence that when the invasion happened, the daily case numbers along with the deaths in that particular country, they stopped being reported. And that's obviously that's obviously because of this invasion, because of the war. So with people hiding in bunkers and people packed onto trains and whatnot in these shelters, whether it's in Poland or Hungary, Slovakia, Romania, wherever it may be, they're bringing COVID with them. And it's going to be important to see where this pandemic goes in Eastern Europe. So keep a close eye on what happens in Poland, Hungary, and the aforementioned countries in regards to COVID, because their cases, they're going down right now, but they might, who's to say they're going to go back up? Because again, when you have people congregated in one place seeking shelter, oh, you're going to have, that spread is still very much there. So, and then obviously there's warhawks on CNN, BBC, who are flirting with the idea of provocating to the point of World War III. None of us want that. None of us want that. So all I'm gonna say is hope for the best. Hope this turmoil is over as soon as it started, but unfortunately that might be wishful thinking, but I just wanted to give my thoughts on this whole thing. NATO is obviously not backing down. I mean, Putin's orders of having NATO forced further west, taken out of the Baltic states and whatnot, that's not going to happen. That's a pipe dream, if I ever heard one. And here's another thing too. There's a huge similarity between this and the Iraq invasion in 2003. Putin used the argument that Ukraine is enriching nuclear fuel. They're like flirting around with chemicals, and then they're going to use them against Moscow. That is the same rationale that was used to justify our war in Iraq. Same one. Anyway, that's all I gotta say in this. Don't target the Russian people for the actions of one man and his oligarchs. And as for the business side of it, don't boycott Russia, because again, you're hurting the Russian people by doing that. You're not hurting the government. You're damaging the country itself. Slava Ukraini.